Greetings, fellow Earthlings, and those visiting from off-planet Enoch. Today's Top 10 Countdown is New World Explorers, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's get into it. Coming in at number 10 is Giovanni da Verrazzano. Giovanni da Verrazzano, also known as Giovanni da Verrazzano or Jean de Verrazzane, was a French neo-explorer who is best known for exploring the east coast of North America on behalf of King Francis I of France in the early 16th century. Verrazzano's ships were called the Dauphine and La Normande. Here are 10 interesting and lesser-known facts about Giovanni de Verrazzano. Verrazzano's voyages predated those of both Christopher Columbus and John Cabot. He was the first European to explore the New York Harbor and the Hudson River. Verrazzano's expeditions were the first recorded European contact with the Lenape people, who were the indigenous inhabitants of the area that is now New York City. He also explored the coast of what is now North Carolina and South Carolina. Verrazzano was born in the Republic of Florence, Italy, but he was in the service of France. He is honored by the Verrazzano Narrows Bridge in New York City, which connects Brooklyn and Staten Island, being named after him. Verrazzano's expeditions helped France lay claim to the region, and he was given the title of Admiral of New France by King Francis I. He never returned to Europe after his expeditions to the New World, and his fate is unknown. Verrazzano describes the native people he encountered as gentle and without knowledge of what is evil. He is considered as the first known person to have described the American continent as the New World. Did I miss anything from Giovanni? Please drop a comment below so that we can all discuss him in more detail. Coming in at number 9 in our top 10 countdown of New World Explorers is Henry Hudson. Henry Hudson was an English explorer who is best known for his exploration of the northeastern coast of North America and the Arctic on behalf of the English and Dutch governments in the early 17th century. Hudson's most famous ships were the Half Moon and Discovery. Here are 10 interesting and lesser-known facts about Henry Hudson. Hudson made 4 voyages to the New World, but none were successful in their intended objectives. His first voyage in 1607 was sponsored by the English Muscovy Company and aimed to find a northeast passage to Asia. His second voyage in 1608 was sponsored by the Dutch East India Company and aimed to find a northwest passage to Asia. Hudson's third voyage in 1609 was sponsored by the Dutch East India Company and again aimed to find a northwest passage to Asia. Boy, they wanted to get to Asia, didn't they? Hudson's fourth voyage in 1610 was sponsored by the English East India Company and again aimed to find a northeast passage to Asia. He discovered the Hudson River and the bay which now bears his name. On his third voyage, Hudson and his crew mutinied and set Hudson, his son, and several loyal crew members adrift in a small open boat, never to be seen again. He never reached Asia, but his expeditions mapped the northeastern coast of North America and the Arctic. Hudson's voyages were some of the first European contact with the Lenape people, who were the indigenous inhabitants of the area that is now New York City. He is honored by the Hudson River, Hudson Bay, Hudson Strait, and the Hudson River Valley in New York State, all being named after him. What did I miss about Henry Hudson? Drop it in the comment below. Hey, if you're liking this video, give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing as well. Let's move on to number 8 in our top 10 countdown, Samuel de Champlain. Samuel de Champlain was a French explorer, navigator, cartographer, and soldier who is best known for his explorations of the northeastern coast of North America and the Great Lakes region on behalf of the French government in the early 17th century. Champlain's most famous ships were the Don de Dieu and La Grenadière. Here are 10 interesting and lesser-known facts about Samuel de Champlain. Champlain was also known as the father of New France because of his role in the development of the colony of New France. He made several voyages to the New World, starting in 1603 with the French explorer Francois Grave de Bourbon. He was the first European to map and describe the lake that bears his name, Lake Champlain. Champlain was also the first European to document the existence of the Great Lakes and the Niagara Falls. He established the first permanent European settlement in Canada in 1608 at Quebec City. He is credited with the creation of the first accurate maps of northeastern North America. Champlain was also a skilled diplomat, and he formed alliances with the local indigenous peoples to help establish the French colony. He was also a skilled soldier, and he fought alongside the Algonquin and Huron people against the Iroquois. Champlain also wrote extensively about his experiences in the New World, including a book called Les Voyages de la Nouvelle France Occidentale, The Voyages of New Western France. He died in Quebec City in 1635, and his remains are buried in the crypt of the Chapelle des Jésuites in Quebec City. What did I miss about Sam? Hey, drop a comment. Let's talk about him some more. Look at that silly mustache the guy's got. Coming in at number 7 is Jacques Cartier. Jacques Cartier was a French explorer and navigator who is best known for his voyages to Canada on behalf of the French government in the mid-16th century. Cartier's most famous ships were the Grande Hermine and Petite Hermine. Here are 10 interesting and lesser-known facts about Jacques Cartier. Cartier made 3 voyages to Canada in 1534, 1535, and 1541. His first voyage in 1534 was sponsored by King Francis I of France, with the goal of finding a passage to Asia through North America. Boy, France really wanted to get to Asia, didn't they? On his second voyage in 1535, he explored the St. Lawrence River and discovered the site of present-day Montreal. He also claimed the territory of Canada for France and named it New France. Cartier brought back samples of the valuable mineral gold, but it was iron pyrite, a mineral that has a similar appearance to gold but is commonly called fool's gold. He was the first European to describe the St. Lawrence River and the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Cartier also encountered the Huron, Iroquois, and Algonquin tribes and established friendly relationships with them. He is credited with the discovery of the present-day cities of Quebec City and Montreal. Cartier also brought back many specimens of plants and animals from Canada, including the white pine, which became an important resource for the shipbuilding in France. Despite his voyages, Cartier failed to discover a passage to Asia, but his voyages did establish a French presence in Canada and set the stage for further exploration and colonization of the region. Hey, my French is terrible. I'm probably butchering all these names. Tell me in the comments below what you think. Now, on to number 6 of the New World explorers, Francisco Pizarro. Francisco Pizarro was a Spanish conquistador who is best known for his conquest of the Inca Empire in South America in the 16th century. Pizarro's most famous ships were the Marqués and San Juan. Here are 10 interesting and lesser-known facts about Francisco Pizarro. Pizarro led the expedition that conquered the Inca Empire, one of the most advanced civilizations in the Americas at the time. He made 3 voyages to South America in 1524, 1526, and 1530. Pizarro was born in Trujillo, Spain, and was the illegitimate son of a Spanish gentleman and a servant girl. He had very little formal education and was illiterate. He could not read nor write. Pizarro was a brave and ruthless warrior who was not afraid to take risks. He is credited with the discovery of the present-day cities of Panama City and Lima. Pizarro and his men were able to defeat the Incas by using superior weapons, tactics, and by taking advantage of internal conflicts within the empire. After the conquest, Pizarro established the city of Lima as the capital of the new Spanish colony. Pizarro was also known for his cruelty toward the Incas. He ordered the execution of the Inca Emperor Atahualpa after he was captured. He died in Lima, Peru in 1541 after being assassinated by the followers of his former partner and rival, Diego de Almagro. What did I miss about Francisco Pizarro? How's my Spanish? Just as bad as my French, I would say. Coming in at number 5 in our top 10 countdown is Hernan Cortes. You may remember Hernan Cortes was number 9 in our list of the top 10 famous military leaders of all time. Hernan Cortes was a Spanish conquistador who is best known for his conquest of the Aztec Empire in Mexico in the 16th century. Cortes' most famous ships were the Santa Maria de la Concepcion and San Cristobal. Here are 10 interesting and lesser-known facts about Hernan Cortes. Cortes led the expedition that conquered the Aztec Empire, one of the most advanced civilizations in the Americas at the time. He made one voyage to Mexico in 1519. Cortes was born in Medellin, Spain, and was the son of a Spanish nobleman and a peasant woman. He was well educated and fluent in several languages, which helped him communicate with the Aztecs. Cortes was a charismatic leader who was able to gain the loyalty of many of the Aztecs. He is credited with the discovery of present-day city of Mexico City. Cortes and his men were able to defeat the Aztecs by using superior weapons, tactics, and by taking advantage of internal conflicts within the empire. Gosh, this sounds familiar. They just took advantage of these poor Aztecs and their internal conflicts and using their superior weapons. After the conquest, Cortes established the city of Mexico City as the capital of the new Spanish colony. Cortes was also known for his cruelty towards the Aztecs, and he ordered the execution of the Aztec Emperor Moctezuma after he was captured. He died in Seville, Spain in 1547 and is buried in the convent of San Francisco in Seville. Drop some comments below about what you think of these Spanish explorers and them murdering all these Aztec leaders. Coming in at number 4 is Ferdinand Magellan. Ferdinand Magellan was a Portuguese explorer who is best known for leading the first expedition to circumnavigate the globe in the early 16th century. Magellan's most famous ships were the Trinidad, Victoria, Concepcion, and Santiago. Here are 10 interesting and lesser facts known about Ferdinand Magellan. Magellan's expedition set sail from Spain in 1519 with the goal of finding a westward route to the Spice Islands of Indonesia. He was the first European to cross the Pacific Ocean, and he was also the first to prove that the Earth is round by circumnavigating it. He was born in Sabrosa, Portugal, and was the son of a nobleman and a peasant woman. Magellan had a rough childhood and was sent to live with a relative who was a priest at a young age. He learned Latin, which helped him later in his voyages. He was a skilled navigator, and he was able to calculate his longitude by observing the position of the stars. Magellan's expedition encountered many challenges, including storms, mutinies, and hostile native peoples. Only 18 men returned to Spain out of the original crew of about 270 men, and only one ship, the Victoria, completed the voyage. Aptly named, wouldn't you say? He named the Pacific Ocean Mar Pacifico, which means peaceful sea. Magellan was killed in the Philippines in 1521 during a battle with a local chieftain. His expedition was the first to circumnavigate the Earth, and it proved that the Earth is round and opened the way for further exploration and trade between Europe and Asia. Drop some comments below about Ferdinand Magellan and what it took to go around the Horn of South America. Coming in at number 3 in our top 10 countdown of famous world explorers is Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama was a Portuguese explorer who is best known for being the first European to reach India by sea in the late 15th and early 16th century. Da Gama's most famous ships were the São Gabriel and São Rafael. Here are 10 interesting and lesser-known facts about Vasco da Gama. Da Gama's expedition set sail from Lisbon, Portugal in 1497 with the goal of finding a sea route to India. He was the first European to reach India by sea, and he opened the way for the spice trade between Europe and Asia. He was born in Sines, Portugal, and was the son of a nobleman and a peasant woman. Boy, that seems to be a recurring motif. Da Gama has a rough childhood and was sent to live with a relative who was a priest at a young age. He learned Latin, which helped him later in his voyages. Oh my God, I think ChatGPT was sick when it was generating this data. He was a skilled navigator and able to calculate his longitude by observing the position of the stars. Da Gama's expeditions encountered many challenges, including storms, mutinies, and hostile native people. I wonder if there's a cut and paste error in this video. He established a factory in Calicut, India, which became the main center for the Portuguese spice trade with the East. He was appointed as a governor of Portuguese India by King Manuel I. Da Gama made 2 more voyages to India in 1502 and 1524. His voyage was a major achievement in the age of exploration, and it opened the way for further exploration and trade between Europe and Asia. What did I miss about Vasco da Gama? Well, I didn't tell you that he went around Africa and through the Horn of Africa and up that way to India, versus Magellan, who went the other way around South America. Oh well, make some comments. Tell me what you think. Give me a like, or give me a thumbs down if I'm doing a horrible job. Yeah, well, garbage in, garbage out. Number 2 in our countdown, ooh, we're getting close to the end, is John Cabot. John Cabot, also known as Giovanni Caboto, was an Italian explorer who is best known for his voyages to North America on behalf of the English government in the late 15th century. Cabot's most famous ship was the Matthew. Here are 10 interesting and lesser-known facts about John Cabot. Cabot's expedition set sail from Bristol, England in 1497 with the goal of finding, you guessed it, a new route to Asia. He was the first European to explore the coast of North America since the Norse voyages of Leif Erikson around 1000 A.D. He was born in Genoa, Italy, and moved to Venice, where he became a citizen and worked as a trader and navigator. Oh, Cabot had a rough childhood and was sent to live with a relative who was a priest at a very young age. He learned Latin too, which helped him later in his voyages. Never trust ChatGPT. He was a skilled navigator and he was able to calculate his longitude by observing the position of the stars. Cabot's expeditions encountered many challenges, including storms, mutinies, and hostile native peoples. Where have we heard that before? He is credited with the discovery of present-day Canada and Newfoundland. Cabot made a second voyage in 1498, but the outcome of the voyage is uncertain, and Cabot himself disappeared. His expedition is considered as one of the most important in the Age of Discovery. It helped to establish England's claim to North America and open the way for further exploration and trade in the region. He is honored by the Cabot Strait, Cabot Tower, and Cabot Trail, all being named after him. Okay, now's the time to leave those comments. What do you think about ChatGPT and helping me with AI to generate these videos? Hey, have you subscribed yet? And do you know who number 1 is? Why don't you drop a comment below who you think number 1 New World Explorer is before we get to it. Because here we are at number 1. Who do you think it is? It's Christopher Columbus. Of course it is. Christopher Columbus was an Italian explorer who is best known for his voyages across the Atlantic Ocean, sponsored by the Catholic monarchs of Spain in the late 15th and early 16th centuries, in which he completed 4 voyages across the Atlantic Ocean, opening the way for the widespread European exploration and colonization of the Americas. Columbus' most Famous ships were the Santa Maria, Pinta, and Nina. Here are 10 interesting and lesser-known facts about Christopher Columbus. Columbus made 4 voyages to the New World in 1492, 1493, 1498, and 1502. He was the first European to reach the Caribbean, Central America, and South America, although he never set foot on the mainland of North America. He was born in Genoa, Italy, and moved to Lisbon, Portugal, where he worked as a trade and navigator. Oh no, Columbus had a rough childhood and was sent to live with a relative who was a priest at a young age. He learned Latin, which helped him later in his voyages. Everybody back then had priests for uncles, didn't they? Oh, and he was a skilled navigator and was able to calculate his longitude by observing the position of the stars. Well, of course he was. That's how everybody who drove a ship back then got around, using a sextant and the stars at night to navigate. And of course, he encountered many challenges, including storms, mutinies, and hostile native peoples, because when you're out in the middle of the ocean, you run into storms, and when you can't feed your people, they mutiny, and every one of these new lands had strange hostile natives. He is credited with the discovery of the Caribbean, Central America, and South America, although the lands had already been inhabited by indigenous peoples for thousands of years. Yeah, we called them Indians. Then we called them Native Americans. Then we called them Latin Americans. Then we called them Caribbeans. And then we called them, well, whatever's politically correct this week. Columbus made a 4th voyage in 1502, but it was a failure, and he returned to Spain in 1504, where he died in 1506. Didn't live very long, did he? He brought the first enslaved people from the Caribbean to Spain, and his expedition set the stage for the widespread exploitation and enslavement of the indigenous people of the Americas. Great, a slave trader. Columbus' voyages are widely considered as one of the most significant events in world history, as it marked the first successful European navigation of the Atlantic Ocean and the discovery of the New World. Comment below about Christopher Columbus, because our American history says that he discovered America. Unfortunately, he discovered Central and South America, not North America, where the United States is. Hey, go ahead and give me a like. I know it's crazy, but you ought to subscribe, because every week we put out one of these top 10 famous people lists. And go ahead and leave a comment about what you thought about this video in particular. Thanks, and have a great day.